Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Dr. G, and welcome back to another episode of House Calls with Dr. G. I am back at home base. The last couple times I've done house calls, I've been on location, but it feels good to be back at home in my basement. It's all good. I'm here today with my good friend Jody Shalene. I'm going to introduce you to her in a second. But what we're going to be talking about this week and next week is really about the importance of work-life balance. The reality is that a lot of us have a lot of imbalance. We're out of sync between balancing our work and our life. We're being pulled in so many directions as far as career, health, family, and other kind of commitments. And really, work is the epitome of causing some disruption. But how do we strike that balance? So we're going to talk about it today. We're going to talk about it on my show this week, July 17th. And then next week, July 24th, we're going to have a clinician's perspective of work-life balance, and we're going to have a non-clinician's perspective. But I want to talk about it today, so I'm introducing you to my good friend and colleague, Jody Shalene. Let me read her credentials, because her credentials run deep. Jody Shalene, it's true, I'm going to tell the truth. Jody Shalene is realtor at Keller Williams Realty Infinity. Check her out at her website, www.jodyshalenrealestate.com. She's been on my show before when I did my Living My Best Life series for women back at the beginning of the year, so check that out too if you want to hear more. So Jody, welcome to House Calls with Dr. G.
Thank you for having me, Dr. G. Happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. And when I was thinking of this concept of work-life balance, I was like, okay, I got to have Jody on because she really sets the tone for it. Somebody who's successful in what she does for her career, but successful in life and in family. But the reality is that not only does Jody have to strike a balance, I think about me, also you as well too. So I want to ask Jody how she does this thing. So let's start with this. Let's start out simple.
Okay.
What does work-life balance mean to you?
Well, work-life balance to me is something that I personally constantly have to work on and strive for. It's a living, breathing thing for me, and it's something that I feel that I just constantly have to work on. So it's just balancing. I'm a full-time realtor, I'm a full-time mom, I'm obviously, my family's important, my friends are important, and so is my work. So it's just balancing all of them and making sure that I set boundaries so that I can do them all well.
Excellent. How do you kind of strike that balance a little bit more when you talk about, hey, if you're doing something at home or you do something at work, and maybe sometimes that feeling sometimes that feeling where you have to sometimes feel like I got to be in two places at one time, but I can't. Something might get sacrificed. How do you kind of maintain this fluid relationship of it all?
Well, I have become very good at scheduling things. I use a calendar constantly, but I think that most of my success in trying to balance it all has been changing within and the way I look at work-life balance. So I have become through the years very flexible when it comes to my work-life balance, so that I can be open to when things come up last minute, or be open to when I have to say yes to something, when I can have to say no to something, and I just do my best to juggle all that.
You have like a unique perspective because being your own, being self-employed and owning your own business, you may be able to carve out some things that can work on you. A lot of people that are out there kind of watching us and listening, they may have a more of a traditional job, a 9-to-5, so to speak.
Right.
If a 9-to-5 even exists these day and age, it probably doesn't. But they have more of a rigid kind of confines on how they operate in. How do those kind of people, how do you kind of strike that balance with those people that might be, hey, I'm in these parameters and I've got to work during this time, but I might not be productive during this time, or I might be better when I'm working later or outside these confines. Some people they do great when they work at home late. All the chaos and all the noise is out. But how do you kind of really get people to kind of focus on what they need to do from a work standpoint and then also from a life standpoint?
Right. Well, first of all, I think it's really important that you have to figure out what works for you as an individual. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Not the same thing, something that works for me is not going to work for you. Yeah. So really digging deep and figuring out what works for you, and then, being flexible with that. So find things that are important to you, things that make you happy, that bring you joy, and make time for those things.
Excellent. I talk about the happiness. That's awesome, because we were talking about that on that Living Your Best Life show. And again, I encourage everybody to check that out. But we're here today, focused. But, one of the things for me, it's like, you mentioned earlier, you got to set those boundaries. For me, as a physician, I can look at patients' medical records at 2 a.m. if I wanted to. Labs are coming back, all that kind of stuff. But you have to just say, hey, if you're not taking care of yourself and doing things for you, how can you continue to do the things that you're doing for others and for your business and growing
No
that?
doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. So I am like you. I could literally look at houses all day long. My job can be 24/7. It can be. And because it's all
Yeah.
online.
Yeah.
So, and I can do it anywhere I want to. So I have to make the conscious effort to log off at
Yeah.
night. So when my family needs me, I log off. I try to be present. And it takes effort to do that, but it's really, really important, because if you don't and you try to work 24/7, you're going to feel very off balance.
I love that word, how you say you got to be present, and I've talked about this before on Tear Off with Dr. G, and really living in this moment, because this is the moment that we have. You know, the past is in the past. The future has yet to come. We can't. Why work ourselves up for something that may or may not come?
Yep.
Right now we have this moment. And I always tell people, think about the things that are important to you. You know, obviously your work is important if that's important to you, but find your values and continue to build off of that. That kind of sets your foundation.
No doubt about
So I want
it.
to ask you this question. You know, one of the things that's common across industries, and I think about the medical industry and you being in real estate, is the theme of burnout. It's one of the hottest topics. What does burnout mean to you?
Well, first of all, burnout is very, very real. So for me personally, when I have put too much on my plate, I start to feel worn out and burnt out. And it's a feeling that I get. It's a feeling of anxiety and stress, and it doesn't feel good. And it's real. So what I do is that you want to know what I do to conquer
Yes, please.
burnout. So I take a hard look at what I've put on my plate,
Yeah.
and I start to say no to things. If it's not top priority for that day or that week, I either push it. I don't necessarily take it off my to-do list. I just push it to a different time or different day, so that I can, prioritize what needs to be done, and so I can take a break.
No, you have to. Otherwise,
have
you know,
to.
the chronic stress that can happen, it can just burn. It can just throw bad things on, like, your relationships.
Absolutely.
And then also even in your business and being able to do the things you want to do. And then you
Right.
break down, and then I see people in my clinic. And no offense, I don't want to really see people in my clinic. I mean, I want to see people, don't get me wrong. But it's like, there's so many things that we can do to just kind of stave off things. You know, I always think of the saying, like, we are risk averse as a people versus risk taking, although there might be some risk takers out there. But we all want to have good things happen, even with our life and in our families and even at our job.
No doubt.
So let me ask you this question. A lot of us are very rigid. We compartmentalize everything. Our life is compartmentalized. One of the things that actually was put out by the American Academy of Pediatrics last year talked about something for kids. I'm going to see if we can try to flip it to adults. American Academy of Pediatrics came out and said, prescribe play. And they're talking about the importance of physical, mental, and neurocognitive development for kids. I would argue that play has gone away as adults.
I would agree with that argument.
What's your thought about, should we play as adults? Should we be doing more things that are a little spontaneous?
I completely agree with that. Do I do that? Probably not enough. And I definitely think it's important. And I have some amazing friends in my life that do that and and help me with that, because I do think it's important to have fun, to let loose, to play once in a while.
Absolutely. So you heard it from both of us. You got to get out there and just have fun. But again, focus on yourself, on what's important to you, and go from there. So I want to thank Jody for coming out today on House Calls with Dr. G. I want you to check her out. Jody is amazing, great friend and colleague of mine. Check her out on her website, www.jodysholenerealestate.com. Hey, Jody, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on House Calls with Dr. G.
It's a pleasure.
Hey, everybody, don't forget, check us out July 17th and July 24th. Again, we're talking about work-life balance. You can do it. All right, guys, take care and peace out.